Beautiful souls, welcome and welcome back. For those who are new here, this is Sophia, and today we'll be talking about the most karmic transit of 2026, which is Ketu transiting through Magha Nakshatra, starting tomorrow, which is the 29th of March, 2026. This happens only once every 18 years. And Ketu is returning to its royal ancestral throne and transiting its own ruled nakshatra. This is the peak of Ketu's rulership. So let's get started. Let's understand Magha Nakshatra just a little bit. It is the only nakshatra whose very symbol is the throne, a seat of inherited power, something you don't have to earn, something that is ancestral authority and royal legacy. And Ketu, being the ruler of the throne, makes it very interesting because Ketu doesn't want a throne. This is the best part about astrology. It's a subject of permutations and combinations, and we try to understand why life on planet Earth is so random. It's because the clock of this entire simulation has been arranged in such a way that random variables come together and do a mix, which looks bizarre, but it's actually very calculated. Ketu here doesn't actually care about the throne really, but it does keep legacies. So what happens when the headless monk, let's say Ketu is a monk and it's pretty headless, it doesn't have a head. It's the energy of that is detached, karmic, liberation seeking. It sits on the most powerful seat within the zodiac. So your ancestral karma this year, starting tomorrow, is going to wake up in a major way. Okay, this is legacy building transit, and you may want to take out your journals, pen and paper, look back 18 years ago when Ketu was transiting Magha again, and what was happening in your life, because themes of that period will come back and seek resolution. Can you do things differently this time? So the transit runs from March 29th, which is tomorrow, to December 5th, 2026. And then Ketu changes signs altogether, leaves Leo, moves into Cancer. So this 9 months of deep karmic excavation, let's just call that, is ancestral reckoning. And for those who are doing the inner work, there is profound liberation, and we'll talk about what that means for you specifically. So I'm going to cover what Magha and Ketu mean individually first, what they mean together, and then I'm going to walk you through every single ascendant sign. Make sure you check your rising sign and your moon sign, not just your sun sign, because that is the most appropriate Vedic astrology technique of calculating your transits. Okay, so I want to repeat, check your moon sign and your ascendant sign, not just your sun sign. Okay, so let's go. So what is Magha Nakshatra? So Magha Nakshatra spans the first 13 degrees and 20 minutes of Leo. It is ruled by Ketu. We now know that. And so when Ketu transits into Magha, he is coming home. He is sitting on his own throne. He's very comfortable there and yet very uncomfortable there, both at the same time. And that changes everything. So the symbol of Magha is a royal Rome, a seat of the highest authority. The ruling deities are the Pitris, okay? So they are known as the divine ancestors, the keeper of legacies, the fathers of humanity. They're not just your personal lineage, but they are the collective ancestral memory of Earth, of your soul's entire journey through time. So plain and simple, Magha natives and those of you who have key planets in Magha, one or more planets in Magha, born to clear ancestral karma in this lifetime. There is no doubt about that. multiple classical texts talk about it, along with the modern ones. So this creates an energy of whatever's happening into your life is not exactly your fault, but it's still your responsibility. You still have to clear that karma. You've been chosen, so to speak. A lot of people who call themselves the chosen ones might look back at this video and say, can you please choose someone else? Because clearing up ancestral karma is not the easiest thing in the world. And because really the ancestors get a free ride, right? You are doing all of the hard karmic work while they are just in the ancestral realms reaping the benefits. So this is the Magha soul contract. If you can digest it, you might become very successful in this lifetime, because the ancestral forces that are beyond you, that are in a higher dimension, are looking after you. They want you to succeed. So if you do the work, they won't let you fail. Okay, so that's the gift of Magha. So a star associated with this one is Regulus. Okay, the royal star. It is the heart of the lion. And Regulus has been associated with kings, emperors, world leaders throughout history. And since we are talking about lineages, you can also include mafias because they run through families. So its signature is greatness. Okay, it's not an ordinary nakshatra, not an ordinary sign. And Ketu is never ordinary, so makes it even more prominent. But Regulus carries one condition, that greatness only holds if you are free of revenge, which means if something is happening to you, you do not hold a grudge against it. Why? Have you ever thought about that? Why is this condition so prominent in Magha? When there is so much greatness, you can achieve whatever you want. There's so much influence, right? But the ancestors want their karma cleared through you. Now, if you react to everything, and if you hold grudges and hold revenge, then, it's creating even more karma, binding you to this plane. What the ancestors want is liberation. So you can succeed and achieve anything you want in the world, provided you are not holding all of that power and influence to then impact other people, because then you'll be bound to this plane. And the ancestors don't want that. So this is the shadow of Magha. The other shadow of Magha is isolation, because if you scratch the surface with any leader in history, you will know that leadership by definition belongs to the 1%, and the 1% are always alone, which is one of their curses. I think Elon Musk said in one of his interviews that he wouldn't want my life or my fate, because all I do is work and all I do is sit around and in isolation. So I think there's a level of surrender to his destiny as well. Two shadows of Magha, and the condition is surrender. Okay? Now, let's talk about Ketu, because Ketu rules Magha. Ketu, first of all, is a shadow planet. It is not actually a planet at all, because Ketu is a creator of eclipses. It's one of the nodes of the moon. So where the moon and the sun orbits collide together, creates a node. So one of those nodes out of two is Ketu. The other one is Rahu. And it is, in symbology, it is known as the tail of the cosmic serpent. Okay, so it has no head. Head is Rahu, tail is Ketu, and the body is also Ketu. And this is design. It's not meant to be a flaw. So without a head, Ketu does not have the ability to think. It just follows. And that is the trick with ancestral energy. They want you to be a follower of ancestral design. And by being a follower, you get to be a leader. Not the paradox, but this is how the design is set. So Ketu does not plan. It has no business planning. He does not negotiate or scheme. He simply is. He acts from pure instinct, from past life memory, from the deepest layers of karmic imprint. Ketu is a moksha karaka, which means significator of liberation. So everything you do under the influence of Ketu is clearing your karma on planet Earth so that you can ascend faster. Yeah. He's a planet that cuts through illusion, strips away false identity and demands that we release what no longer serves the soul's purpose. Not just your soul, also the ancestral energy, ancestral soul. So, in the classical Vedic texts, the Brihat Parashara Horashastra, Ketu is described as the karma breaker. And he unravels what was woven in past lives so that the thread can be rewoven with greater truth. So, cleans the slate out, builds a new sort of foundation. So when this karma breaking happens and liberation seeking happens and ego dissolving happens, there's a force that enters this nakshatra. The royal thrones and legacy activates, which means now you have so much power and so much influence, you can build anything. Just Ketu's greatest gift and also a curse. If you live in 3D reality, you will know this involves letting go of a lot of people, places, things. It's not easy. So Ketu and Magha ask you to stop overthinking because you have no business doing any of this heady work. And it shows you a way out of lineage patterns. You have to feel them and surrender to them and transform them from the ground up. Now let's talk about collective themes and what everyone is going to feel, okay? So regardless of your ascendant, here is what the collective consciousness is going to feel in the next 9 months, which will impact everyone. Why? Because here on Earth, we are one consciousness. So when a war gets started in a country like Israel, we all feel the ripples of it. Okay, it's whether we see the news or not, there is a collective fear that goes around. And we start to feel that conflict in our own lives. So collective themes become even more important in understanding how Ketu is going to impact you. So first of all, there's going to be clearing out of leadership energy that has no business being leaders. Again, I bring you back to the war example that I just described. So all those leaders will be wiped clean out, and we've already started to see the effects of that. And I'm talking about all kinds of leaders. Look at the Epstein files. People we idolize, we think are flawless, have built legacies. Are they real legacies? If you build them on torture and exploitation of vulnerable people, they will get exposed. All kinds of corruption gets exposed now. This is a collective theme. Even if you have someone within a community, it just doesn't have to be on such a large scale. All the ripples of that have a sort of mirroring effect. So just within your community, if you know someone who's held leadership and within a neighborhood, even let's say they're leader of a housing society or something, you might start to uncover some of their secrets and realize that they were not as clean as we thought. They built their identity and their power over exploitation, and that gets released. This is just an example. Then, second thing that might happen collectively is dreams and visions of ancestral energy. Now, it doesn't mean that your grandmother is going to show up in your dream, although that's possible, okay? But what it means is even people who are connected to you, friends, family, neighbors, whoever. Sometimes we have ancestors come to us as different avatars in 3D reality. Can be our pets even. Okay, we don't know it, but the fact that they're karmically connected to us means they have some level of, in Vedic astrology is known as Rinanubandhan, that keeps binding you. And they're bound to you till the karmic rin is over. Even if it's the most positive relationship you've ever seen, it's still a binding effect, the reason they're in your lives, right? So many of you will be dreaming about deceased family members, grandparents, lineage figures you may have never even have met in this lifetime, or people from your past may show up in your dreams if they were ancestors to you in some way or the other. This is a Magha calling you. The Pitris are coming forward. So do not be afraid of this, welcome it, and I recommend you keep a dream journal and write it down, because these 9 months a lot of that information is going to come to you within dream states. Because Ketu is Karaka of the 12th house. Okay, and 12th house is about dreams. So the other one is an identity reckoning. Ketu will begin stripping away inherited roles, titles, identities, all of that. What is truly not yours. So let's say you've been running a business that your father was running and then your grandfather was before that, and it's been passed on to you. Ketu will really test the defenses of that business. Ketu will want you to identify if this is truly yours, because a lineage is built on foundation. And if you've only built it on foundation that you've known, Ketu is going to come in and say, what is yours exactly? Are you part of this lineage? Can you prove it? So let's prove it. Okay, let me strip all of these back and give you responsibility that belongs only to you, that you have no reference for, and see if you can stand the test. Build something of your own. So that's something that's likely going to happen. Then the other thing is ancestral trauma will resurface. So patterns of pride, power struggles, wounded authority, and generational wounds around worth and recognition will come up for review. This is not meant to be a punishment. Again, Ketu is cleansing energy. It cuts. One of its symbol is a knife. Slice it, right? This is purification. So don't resist it, and things will fall into place. Then the other one that's most likely going to happen is deep interest in your roots. You may feel an unexpected pull towards genealogy, family history, ancestral practices, past life exploration. You will get a lot of information that you can then use moving in your life forward, which will make you successful, because this is the royal throne. You're meant to be successful. So yeah, keep that journal that I mentioned earlier. Then, this is an 18-year cycle, right? So cast your mind back to 18 years ago. What was happening in your life around leadership, legacy, all of those themes will come back. So if you did something that you're not proud of back in those times, I recommend you do things differently and see how because again, this will not happen for another 18 years. So making a different choice is what Ketu and Magha Nakshatra is going to be asking of you. All right, let's get started with ascendant-wise analysis, ascendant and moon sign. So get your birth charts out. If you don't know how to find your Vedic birth chart, check the description box below. It's deva.guru, which will give you a free Vedic birth chart. So make sure to put your details in there and generate that birth chart, and then look at the D1 chart. It also gives you a D9 and D60, but we're not going to go into that one today. Let's get started. Aries ascendant. So Ketu and Magha lands in your 5th house, the house of creativity, romance, children, intelligence, and past life merits. Okay, it's known as Purva Punya. This is deeply karmic because we're already talking about past lives and lineages and legacies, and the fact that it's landing in your 5th house of past life merits makes it double whammy. So your accumulated merit of past lives comes forth. Ketu and Magha here is like a master key, unlocking that treasure chest. Okay, so here is the nuance. Ketu does not hand you the treasure. He shows you what accumulated debt you must clear before you can access it. So for Aries ascendants, this transit will bring unexpected shifts in creativity, art forms, skills, or gifts that seem dormant may unexpectedly resurface, and past life abilities might come through as well. So you might be giving advice, for example, to a friend and not even know where that came from. It's just it somehow. For those of you with children or hoping to have them, Ketu in the 5th requires attention. because they may be karmic themes around children specifically. Now, it doesn't mean that you'll get separated from your children or anything like that. It just means that you might have a little bit of emotional distance from them that you might experience in the beginning. In terms of conceptions, you might have a little bit of difficult conceiving right in the beginning of this transit, and then it smooths over. So Ketu's essential message is it takes everything away in the beginning and then gives you everything in the end, because it wants you to see that what we have materially is an illusion, and what we get is, you need to be grateful for it. It's not just meant to be handed to you. So that is Ketu's orbit, or its message, its energy. So if you have been carrying ancestral wounds around your own creative expressions as well, or the right to be seen, this transit helps you release them. And in terms of romance, expect detachment from drama, conflict, all sorts of short-term casual relationships will tend to just disappear from your orbit, because Ketu is longevity. What Ketu gives lasts forever. What Ketu takes away never comes back. So if you are in casual relationships that you're struggling to maintain and things like that, Ketu will come in and strip that right out and say, okay, time for you to start something that's a bit more permanent. Can you sustain that? Because we need to build a legacy. And how are you going to do that if you don't have something sustainable? So this transit helps with that, gives you clarity around those dynamics. So yeah, any relationships that are also ego-driven, Ketu wants you to bring in depth, soul recognition, and true resonance. So yeah, it's a great time if you're looking for authentic connections, because Ketu will support it. From a leadership angle, I want to say, Aries, you're being asked to lead through creative genius, not through force, okay? Go softer. These are past life gifts that are your greatest authority. So allow intuition to guide you as opposed to applying force, which means that if something isn't working, don't force it. Ketu is going to come in and give you the right information that you can then follow up. Trust it. The remedy here, we are talking about Vedic astrology, and Vedic astrology is remedy focused, solution focused, right? So if you can light a candle on new moon nights to offer to your ancestors, acknowledge the creative roots inherited through your lineage, this will energetically activate their blessings. So even if they were never honored, it's your time to honor them. So honoring them unlocks your past life merit. So that was for Aries, all I have for you. Now we talk about my dear Taurus, ascendant and moon sign. So Ketu is going to be in your 4th house. The house belongs to your home, your mother, emotional security, property, inner peace, and your deepest sense of belonging. Really your comfort zone. So this is not a gentle transit. Remember, Ketu is a malefic planet. It's not here to give you an easy time. But Ketu in the 4th house is, in Vedic astrology, is known to uproot placements, quite literally and figuratively. So it creates a sense of restlessness for the soul, a feeling that you do not quite belong where you are, and this is again by design. So Ketu in Magha in your 4th house is dissolving inherited emotional patterns, which means if your mother behaved a certain kind of way and you adopted it without thinking, Ketu is going to come in and cut that right out of your system. It's going to say, okay, this is something you acquired from a parent. Now I want you to develop your own emotional response to a situation. So patterns around safety, security, and the mother wound is going to come up, what it really means for you to belong somewhere. If your sense of home has been built on ancestral conditioning, what Ketu will do is take you away from that home. Maybe you get a job abroad. Maybe you move, I don't know, to the mountains. Ketu loves the mountains, and it might take you somewhere that's more spiritually focused. So you can go within, really, rather than banking on your ancestral response to people, places, things. Ketu will take you in a foreign place where you have to develop that for yourself. And there may be movement, physical relocation is possible, like I said. Some of you may deal with matters concerning real estate or property that have karmic roots. Some of them may come into conflict just so that you can resolve them the correct way. For example, if a parent hasn't been paying their taxes on their property, or they have multiple properties and they've been freeloading or something, now that responsibility will fall on you to resolve, which means you might get investigated where you have to pay all of those debts back. Yeah. So something to watch for. And if you haven't had that conversation with a family member yet, it's a good time to have that conversation. So relationship with a mother, let's talk about that, or with maternal figures, becomes a mirror of your deepest ancestral patterns. Approach this with compassion and not judgment, because she is, after all, your mother. And I understand that not all mother-parent dynamics are always easy, because they're our first emotional attachment, and then we reference every relationship after that based on the emotional attachment we build with our own mother. So this becomes particularly hard if you don't have a good relationship with your mother already. This one might come up for resolution, so think on that one. The gift here, Taurus, for you is this transit is meant to be liberating you from emotional security patterns that were never yours to begin with. So as the pole's sense of home dissolves and a deeper soul level peace begins to emerge, that peace will last. It will have a lasting effect, at least for the next 18 years if you do this right. So if you are being moved and relocated, don't resist it. There is a lot of good things that are coming out of this transit. So one being your leadership style, right? Your leadership power comes from emotional sovereignty in 2026. And moving forward in the age of Aquarius, this is going to be massively important that you develop. You cannot lead others if you're still emotionally imprisoned by ancestral definitions of safety. So this transit sets you free. And I can't wait to see what that does for the world, because an emotionally sovereign person is a person who thinks about other people and not just themselves. So the remedy here is clean and honor your personal space, especially your home, as a sacred temple where you come back home to, where you can think clearly. Light a candle for your ancestors, particularly maternal lineage, on every Thursday evening. That is what I have for you, Taurus. Moving on, we are doing Gemini, Ascendant, and Moon sign. So Ketu will be in your third house. Okay? So for Gemini, rising and Moon, this is actually a very favorable placement for Ketu. He lands in your third house. He actually loves the third house. This house belongs to courage, communication, younger siblings, skills, short journeys, and your hands. Anything you do, handiwork, craftsmanships, and things like that. So Ketu in your third house is considered powerful in Vedic astrology. Third house is known as the Upacha house, which means it improves with time, provided you put effort into it. There's not a lot of fixity associated with karma in this house, which is great, right? And Ketu here lends fearlessness. Quiet, assuming, deeply rooted fearlessness. So for Gemini, Ascendant, and Moon sign, the ancestral karma is being activated around your voice, your writing, and your truth-telling ability. So many of you carry lineage patterns around silence, ancestors who could not speak their truth, who were suppressed for their gifts, who were silenced for their powers. So Ketu and Magha in your third house is creating those karmic codes from your communication field and releasing them. So many of you find yourself speaking with a new kind of authority during this transit, not the loud kind and not the ego kind, but the kind that comes from knowing something deeply. You might not even know where this information is coming from. So I would deeply tap into your intuition, because this is little known about the third house, but third house also belongs to the first layer of your cognitive abilities, your intuitive self. The 12th house will be your unconscious mind when you're sleeping, your dream state. But the third house is your subconscious mind. So, yeah, these karmic chords will be coming from deep within. So I recommend you keep a journal again, listen. You may find yourself accessing skills and talents from when you were a child, especially those with past life origins or family origins, writing, speaking, teaching, crafting, anything that channels information through hands or voice is activated. You may also feel a need to be seen quite significantly. You might be more active on social media. Siblings, again, may play a karmic role here. All dynamics with brothers and sisters may come up for resolution. For leadership, I think Gemini shines through communication. So the fact that this is happening in your third house, which already is a natural domain for Gemini, this transit gives you ancestral permission to speak with power and authority, because it will get recognized in the next 9 months. So this is one of the better transits for Gemini, Moon and Ascendant. Congratulations. The remedy here, I don't think you need a lot of remedies with this one, but if you have ancestral energy that is complicated within the family, I would start writing letters of forgiveness. Even on a notes app, it doesn't have to be anything massive or grand. So letters of forgiveness, just forgiving your ancestors for what they've done or not done. You may want to include your siblings, because third house at Gemini does expand the sibling energy in this forgiveness letter, so that it lands and you never need to send it. This is just for you, because it will feed your subconscious mind and clear that karma internally. So that is what I have for you, Gemini. Perfect. Now we move on to Cancer, Ascendant and Moon sign. Lovely Cancers. Ketu is in your second house. This is a house of accumulated wealth, family values, speech, food, your face, even, and what you value at your deepest level. So the second house is also your kutumba house. So the house of your immediate family and ancestral lineage does get connected very strongly with the second house. So with Ketu and Magha both being deeply ancestral forces, landing here is one of the most significant placements of this entire transit for your ascendant and moon sign. So the ascendant karma being activated is around worth and wealth. How does your lineage relate to money, to security, and to their own values? If there is a lot of dirty money associated with your lineage, Ketu will come in and clear that right out of your system. So some people might face situations where, if there are inherited properties or jewelry or anything like that that came from money, that, like I said, dirty money, which was a result of cheating other people, Ketu is going to come in and remove that. Nothing to fear, but when this happens, I would sincerely recommend that you do not resist this. Look, this is a part of a larger pattern that's happening in the world. It's not just about Cancer rising or Cancer moon signs. Why? Because we are moving into the age of Aquarius. Pluto is going to move into Aquarius by 2040. So this is going to happen to every sign, because Ketu will change signs and move into another one and impact that one for another 18 months or so. So transit videos are not meant to create fear within you. It's meant to create awareness. We're moving into an age where fairness and collective well-being will be prioritized over hierarchy and leadership that came from corruption and things like that. So all the transits, in fact, that'll be happening right now are hyper-focused in clearing of things that are not belonging to fairness, anything corrupt will start leaving. So if you are one of those new generation people, and the fact that you're on this channel and listening to this video, you've focused on that. I can understand you're spiritual as well. You would inherently know that this is important to do because we're building a society moving forward that is built on clean legacy, something that we can be proud of. We want to leave the earth better than we found it, or better than our ancestors found it. So this is our responsibility to hold this transition with as much grace as we possibly can. So thanks for listening to my TED Talk, but going back to your ascendant and moon sign, I want to say that when this is happening within your family, within your lineage, try not to resist it. Because what comes and replaces when Ketu changes signs is even better. And it doesn't mean you're going to lose everything. It just means that what you get will last forever, will last the overarching transition that we are going to go through. So your relationship with money itself may shift completely. This is even more important because Cancer is a royal sign, along with Leo. So there's a lot of royal lineage things happening within your ascendant and moon to begin with. So the fact that Ketu is coming in to your family house and restructuring everything may be a little bit harder on you, okay? So Ketu here creates detachment from accumulation. This is not creating poverty, don't get me wrong, but it's a reorientation of values, money, and anything that's not clean. So what you thought you wanted materially may lose its appeal suddenly. That is the easiest sort of structuring of this transit. What truly matters to your soul steps forward, and then you build on top of it. Okay, so this is actually a very positive thing. If you can stomach the initial things leaving, let them go with grace. And then what comes to you, it will last. So family dynamics around inheritance, family wealth, and values. You may be having a lot of talks about that with your extended family members. The leadership angle for this one is true wealth is not only financial. I know it sounds woo and wishy-washy, but like I said, we are moving into an age where this is going to look very different. So when you look back 18 years later, you will be thanking this period for your leadership power that comes through would be very different. Something the world will thank you for and you will thank yourself for. The remedy here is feeding other people, especially underprivileged people, particularly orphan kids and the elderly who have been abandoned. If you can feed them on a regular basis, let's say once a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month, how you choose your own frequency will really benefit you. It will clear some of the doorways for you, makes this transit a little bit easier. Okay, so that is what I have for you, Cancer. Let's do Leo ascendant and moon sign. Ketu is going to be in your first house, Leo. So with Ketu transiting through the identity house itself, this is going to be a complete restructuring of your identity, your body, your appearance, and the very nature of how you present yourself in front of other people. Why? Leo is presentation. First house is identity. A lot of things will be changing here. This is the most identity-altering placement of this entire transit, and this is not for the faint of heart, because Magha is the throne of Leo itself. It is the ultimate paradox. The most powerful seat in your chart is now occupied by the planet of ego dissolution. This is not about losing your identity or yourself. It is about discovering who you are underneath inherited identity, beneath the roles, the titles, the masks, and the wounds even, because we inherit that too. So beneath what your family said you were, beneath what the world expects from you, this is a total restructuring of that. So physical changes here are possible in appearance, in health. So watch for Ketu-related health signals as well. There could be fatigue, nervous system sensitivity, and skin rashes as well. In the way you carry yourself will also change. Maybe the way you walk will also change. The sense of self is being alchemized. So old aspects of your personality that were inherited and not chosen you'll start questioning that constantly in your mind. It'll keep you up at night. You might be like, who am I? What am I doing here? What is my larger purpose? Maybe I should book an astrology reading just to see what I'm meant to do on planet Earth. That might also come into your psyche. And if you do feel called to do that, go ahead and do that with your favorite astrologer. And the reason for this is because this is liberation working its way through you. Ascendant is the first house, which means you are on major focus. All eyes will be on you. And yet you would want to go away and hide somewhere. So, the Magha throne is actually your cosmic birthright, dear. But Ketu will only allow you to sit on it authentically, not from ego, not from pride, and not from inherited patterns of dominance. So if you've done something a certain kind of way in the past, let's say you've had a lot of influence over other people, because Leo generally tends to have a lot of influence, right? Let's say you've had that influence and you've exploited it, then this will be a difficult transit for you. But if you've used that power for good, Ketu is going to come you and reward you 1,000-fold. That is Ketu's signature. It wants authenticity and not false pride. So rule yourself first, and then you rule the world. This is Ketu's message here. The leadership message from Ketu here is, this is initiation time. What you do now in the next 9 months, let's say you do a lot of charity work, let's say you do a lot of holistic work that improves lives, Ketu will reward you for the next 18 years. So this transit might sound hard, but it's not meant to be. Just play the game correctly and you will be rewarded for 18 years. Just say that when we hear about Leos, because they tend to be natural leaders, when we hear about Leos moving forward, you are on the right side of leadership and not the wrong. So all the best with that one, Leo. I can't wait to see what you do in the world. So the remedy with that one is, if you can, set aside even 5 to 10 minutes in a day for meditation, because first house is known in Vedic terms belonging to your Dhi Shakti. Dhi Shakti means the central design that rules your entire birth chart and by extension rules your life. So meditation here feeds Dhi Shakti. So 5 to 10 minutes every single day where you clear your brain of any thought. And if you have trouble meditating, you might choose to use an app or anything that supports it, or you might choose to chant a short mantra. The best one for Ketu here is Om Ketave Namaha. Okay? If you can chant it repeatedly, then your brain is not being populated with thoughts, it's just populating with the mantra and it's clearing out that karma. That's what I have here. Moving on to Virgo ascendant and moon sign. Ketu is going to be in your 12th house. Ketu loves the 12th house, Virgo. You are in a very privileged position here. And it is one of the most spiritually powerful placements possible. People underestimate this placement. Why? Because most people, they don't care about spirituality. They might come here to astrology videos to get a quick fix for their sign. But really, if you are even a tiny bit spiritually attuned, Ketu is going to give you technologies that you can then use to live a more improved life in the material world. So why wouldn't you want to use it? This is leverage. So listen carefully, Virgo. So the 12th house governs liberation, the unconscious, foreign lands, sleep, dreams, hidden enemies, expenses, and the dissolution of the ego. It is very important that you learn how to dissolve the ego so that you can actually have a useful identity within 3D reality that can't be taken away from you. Identities get taken away from people all the time. let's say you were a wife in a suburban household and then you have a divorce. You end up becoming a nomad. That's identity dissolution at its finest. So why would you assume that you don't want to learn about this house? This is a very important house, okay? So Ketu is a moksha karaka, which is a significator of liberation. So when the liberator enters the house of liberation, something ancient in the soul starts to remember why it came here. This is soul purpose activation. This transit will pull you, sometimes even forcefully, like a thread tugging at you towards solitude and retreat and meditation and spiritual growth and doing spiritual things like yoga, vipassana, pranayama, Ayurveda. The external world may feel loud and meaningless at times as well, and this is not meant to be a depression. It's meant to be reorientation. Again, Ketu here is providing you with spiritual technology. All of those things I listed, like meditation, vipassana, yoga, all of that, spiritual technologies. If you know how to use them, you can master anything in 3D reality. So don't underestimate this placement. The ancestral karma being cleared here is around service and sacrifice. So your lineage may carry patterns of martyrdom, giving endlessly without receiving, serving from fear rather than love, losing identity in service of others. Ketu in the 12th is releasing this. Okay, they may be increased dreaming, vivid ancestral visions, and moments of profound spiritual insights that arrive for you unfiltered. So keep a dream journal. I suggested that for a few other ascendants, but really important for you specifically because Ketu is in the house of dreams. But the Pitris, the ancestral gods here, are communicating with you directly. You have a direct line of contact with the divine. So foreign connections here may be temporarily. Keyword here is temporary. They may be severed or become exponentially spiritually significant. So unless there's a spiritual connect with them, they might step away for the time being. And expenses here require mindfulness because you don't want to fear, but you might want to be conscious of where you're spending and how much you're spending. In terms of leadership, Virgo, your greatest leadership in this season is inner leadership, inner sovereignty. The wisdom you gather in retreat and silence will now steer your outer authority for years, 18 years to come. So the remedy here is charitable donations given anonymously. 12th house is a house of donations. And Ketu is an anonymous entity. So it doesn't have a head, no identity. So do it anonymously. The more unseen the charity, the better for you. The more powerful the karma clearing for this placement. That is what I have for you, Virgo. Now moving on to my Libra ascendants and moon sign. So Ketu is in your 11th house. This is house of income, gains, networks, friendships, elder siblings, and fulfilled desires and your social circle. So this is another powerful placement for Ketu. In the 11th, it is the Upachya house, which is again a house that gets better with time, provided you put in effort. And Ketu here brings unexpected gains from past life merit. The Magha influence here means that gains often come through ancestral networks, elder figures, or lineage-connected opportunities. However, this is important because we are talking about Ketu and not any other planet. Ketu in the 11th will bring detachment from social networks and specific desires connected to social networks. So any social networks that were built on false identities will start to fall away. And it's important that you let these friendships go. Because if they were created for power and recognition that were built on stepping on other people's emotions, let's say, because a lot of social dynamics work like that, especially the toxic ones, they will start to fall away. And I recommend you let them dissolve because they are not meant for you. okay, they will start to either feel hollow, or they will start to, those social dynamics will start to fight back against you. Because if they're toxic and built on power dynamics, nothing can stop them from leaving. This is Ketu and Magha we are talking about. It's going to go. So possible you might get a job somewhere that takes you away from them, or they might react so aggressively with you that you're forced to leave the social situation and go somewhere else. And it's better that you contemplate why you chose this social dynamic to begin with. What kept you there? Because it's not really your identity, is it? You're meant to build from a grounded place. And if they were ungrounding you, then you might want to think about what made you go in this direction in the first place. And this influence will last 18 years. So whichever friendship circles you choose next, I recommend you choose them very carefully. 18 years is a long time to be with the wrong people. So be careful with this one, Libra. I recommend you do a background check before you agree to who you are being friends with, because not everyone is going to last in the next 18 years, especially if they're not aligned. The ancestral karma here is around belonging and recognition. So did your lineage chase external validation? Were there patterns around social performance being the keyword, about fitting in and seeking worth through other people's approval? Ketu in Magha is dissolving those inherited needs. Groups and communities may surprise you during this transit. Someone you trusted may show their true colors. Important you pay attention. Some people you may have underestimated may become your greatest allies, in fact. And if you have been the aggressor in any one of these social circles, it's possible you might be getting some of that karma too. It's okay. We all make mistakes, and sometimes it's good to acknowledge those mistakes. And the best thing to do if you don't want additional karma is to seek a remedy, is to seek apology if you can. This one will be particularly hard on those people who were the aggressors, so I recommend that you make your amends quickly, because if you don't, Ketu will make you suffer for the next 18 years. Because social groups, it's not just one person, is it? It's multiple people. So if you think 3 people are with you and 1 person against you, and you think you'll overcome the other person, just be careful with those people who you think you belong with. They will start turning against you. Because Ketu is here to modify your understanding of social systems for 18 years. So the leadership angle here is through curating soul-aligned community and only attracting soul-aligned tribe. People who support you and nurture you, want to see you succeed, and who you want to see succeed as well. The remedy here is connect with the elder people within your community. Elder, I mean within your lineage, okay? Offer service, ask for wisdom. This activates the Magha ancestral blessings in the 11th house powerfully and may show you the way, the right way. So I hope this works out, Libra. That's all I have for you. Moving on to Scorpio ascendant and moon sign. Ketu will be in your 10th house. So this is a house of career, professional reputation, public life, authority, and your karmic path in the world. So Ketu in the 10th is one of the most career-altering placements possible, and combined with Magha's royal throne, this creates an energy that is quite profound actually, because Ketu is actually quite happy in the 10th house. If you have been in the career role or position of authority out of obligation, social expectation, or inherited definition of success, Ketu will make staying there increasingly uncomfortable. Discomfort is the key word. It's not meant to be punishing you, it's meant to be liberating you. Let's move on for the next 18 years into better, where you'll be actually happy, not falsely happy. So for Scorpio ascendants and moon sign, the ancestral karma here is around power and its shadow. Okay, so how did your lineage relate to authority? Did you suppress other people to move up in life? If you did that, or your lineage did that, Ketu will come here and teach you a very karmic lesson, because Scorpio is one of the most karmic signs available in the zodiac. So Ketu activating one of the most important houses in Vedic astrology, the 10th house of your public visibility and reputation. This is actually, you choose. This can actually either be liberating or, I hesitate to use the word, dangerous. Because if you're not careful, Ketu can create a shadow of loss of power, and we don't want that. So what do we want to do? This was a similar advice for Libra as well, is if you feel like you have acted in ways that your mother or your father would have done, and being the aggressor yourself, you want to make amends and you want to do it quickly. Because when you make those amends, Ketu gets pacified. And it's telling Ketu that, look, I don't want to behave like what I've learned from my lineage. I want to make those amends. I want to make sure that if I've built a paradigm where I've made life difficult for others, I want to rectify that situation. So for the next 18 years, Ketu doesn't punish you. This can be a very punishing transit for 18 years, especially around your reputation. Because again, Leo is visibility, and in your 10th house, again, it is about recognition and reputation. So you want to choose whether this is about liberation or danger to you. So this may be also a significant career direction. Like your public recognition may change, you may choose different jobs. Authority figures, bosses, mentors, and governments may become really important in the next 9 months, maybe relating to jobs like visas and things like that. And these are you're meant to pay attention to them. They're not meant to be setbacks. If you've led a very clean life, you will have a very clean 9 months and next 18 years, very clean transit. In fact, Ketu will give you gifts. But if you've lived a life where there has been a lot of corruption and a lot of power struggles and bullying and things like that, Ketu is here to twist it, turn it around. So a remedy here will be important. Just stick around. I will tell you what those are. So the leadership angle with this one is the world is ready for your transformed leadership, not your past leadership, the kind that comes from depth and not performance. Ketu in the 10th burns away performance and leaves the real thing. So the remedy here is honor your father or your paternal lineage, even if that relationship has been difficult or non-existent in any way. The simple act of forgiveness or acknowledgement carries enormous karmic weight for this placement. And I had suggested this even for Libra, that if you have made any mistakes in the past 18 years, especially around power and power struggles, I would rectify that and make amendments. Even a simple acknowledgement of that when asking for forgiveness will go a long way, because 18 years is a long time for you to be suffering. That is what I have for you, Scorpio. Now moving on to Sagittarius, ascendant and moon sign. Ketu will be in your 9th house. How lucky for you. Because Sagittarius, you are the 9th sign. So this one is activating both your sign and your 9th house. Because Ketu will give its 5th aspect to your ascendant. So like I said, how lucky for you. So this is a most spiritually significant placement. We know the 9th house belongs to Dharma. And the house of the higher path, it's also the house of your spiritual teacher, your father figures, your philosophical beliefs, and your relationship with the divine itself and any past life dharmic accumulation. This house is meant to give you blessings. And Ketu here absolutely freaking loves this 9th house. So you're in luck. In classical Vedic astrology, it is associated with, this house is associated with philosophical depth beyond ordinary understanding. So higher learning. You begin to perceive the patterns beneath the patterns. So subtext underneath subtext. The dharma beneath the dharma. spiritual insight arrives not through simply studying books, but through direct lived experience. For example, if you've been studying about yoga for multiple months, but you're in a situation where you haven't actually practiced it, and let me just tell you, 90% of yoga is Raja Yoga, which belongs to the mind. It's restructuring of the mind. It's not so much the Western definition of yoga that we understand, which generally belongs to stretching and improving the body and all of that. That is just a very small part of the study of yoga. Yoga actually is about liberating the mind from your patterns. So if you've been studying about it but not acting on it, Ketu will demand here that you act on it, lived experience. And Magha will amplify it, which means you don't just act on it, you learn from it, and then you teach other people, because 9th house belongs to teachers. So maybe in the next 9 months, I hope to see a lot of Sagittarius, Ascendants, and Moon signs starting social media channels where they're talking about lived experiences through higher learning. So yeah, good luck with that one. I would love that. Yeah, so you begin to perceive patterns beneath the patterns, the dharma beneath the dharma, and the Pitris, who are the divine ancestors, are watching over you so that you don't make mistakes on this part. It's very important for the Pitris that you don't teach people the wrong thing, because this is legacy building work, right? Pitris are ancestors. So this is legacy beyond the legacy. So they want to make sure that you live the experience in the correct way. So I also recommend to keep a journal and note down all of those learnings first and then teach other people so that it's concrete and there is documented evidence that it's benefited you before you can benefit other people. So a lot of information will come to you through dreams as well. Pitris are watching, and the ancestral karma is being activated around your belief systems. So whatever philosophical, religious, or spiritual beliefs were inherited from your family members and you were never allowed to question them, now you will become a major rebel and start questioning all of them. And you will start to, once you understand your own beliefs and understandings, you will even start to teach your own family members the differences. So the 9th house and Ketu here will liberate you from borrowed truth and demand that you find your own truth, okay, which is sacred. And this will actually serve you for the next 18 years. Relationship with your father and father figures here may be challenged, okay, in the beginning of the transit, and then it will resolve itself if you are up for the challenge. So any sort of wounds that you may have around fathers and father figures may come up. I would try and forgive them as much as I can, because really there's nothing much that we can do at this point. When a person reaches a certain age, it's very hard to change their line of thinking. We know that neuroplasticity is absolutely a thing and you can absolutely change other people's worldviews, but really, how many people actually follow that, right? We live in a very dopamine-saturated world where people need quick fixes. And changing belief systems is a long and grinding experience that only happens when you tend to lose everything in your life and you're left with nothing and questioning everything. So that's a rare thing. So I would work on forgiveness rather than trying to dominate your own father figures. And if you can do that, the next 18 years will become smoother and easier in your relationship with them. So this transit triggers or deepens your transmission on a relationship level with them on a whole other level. The remedy here is study the sacred, ancestral, and higher learning texts. Classical Vedic astrology is a great one. So if you want to do that, highly recommended. Put it in the comments what you've learned and we'll have an exchange. The Vedas are great to begin with. Your lineage's spiritual wisdom will be in them as well. So spend some time in nature, also another remedy. The 9th house is activated by honoring the highest laws of the universe. So it's a good idea to study them. So that is what I have for you, Sagittarius. Now let's move on to Capricorn ascendant and moon sign. So Ketu in Magha moves into your 8th house. Wow. This is the most mystical, transformational, and hidden house in the entire chart. Now, Ketu in Magha in the 8th can be absolutely brilliant or punishing. The choice belongs to the Capricorn ascendant and moon sign, which one you want to choose. So let's talk about what this means. 8th house governs sudden transformation, death and rebirth cycles, the occult and hidden knowledge. Also talks about joint finances and inheritance, in-laws and the deepest layers of the unconscious. One more thing that most people don't talk about, and it's very important, because the sign of Leo falls in the 8th house, there's a lot of corruption that is also associated with this particular combination. If you have had corrupt practices within ancestral lineage, or if you've adopted it into your own life by following your family patterns, this is not going to be an easy transit, and this is going to be a time for course correction. Let's see how we can navigate that so it's easy for you rather than punishing. So Ketu in 8th, especially in Magha, carries what the ancient texts describe as profound excavator of hidden truth. So secrets resurface. They basically think of being like a little pond where you can't see underneath because it's covered in moss, and you're afraid of stepping into it because you're worried you don't know what's inside. Suddenly something jumps out and grabs you like a crocodile, because the crocodile is also Capricorn's signature animal. But that's what can happen, maybe not in a pond, maybe in a larger water body, but you get the image in your mind, right? Something jumping out, secrets resurfacing suddenly and unexpectedly. So hidden karma becomes visible. What is buried in the lineage comes forward with unusual force and clarity. And not just for you, but also for other people to look at, because Leo is visibility for everyone to see. And the fact that your ascendant is Capricorn automatically talks about natural visibility, recognition, and power. So for Capricorn, this is about control and release. So the lineage may carry patterns of clinging to security or fearing the unknown, depth of avoiding transformation because it threatens the carefully constructed external structures. Ketu in Magha in the 8th is removing the flaw from beneath those patterns. Please don't be afraid. Look, why do we come to Earth? We come to Earth to clear karma. In Buddhist texts, one of the things that is very prominent is if you're alive, you're suffering in some form or the other. So this is just one transit. And I know it lasts 18 years, but still, this is one transit over a large scheme. Any kind of corruption, any kind of inherited darkness around power is meant to go anyway, because as a collective on Earth, we are moving towards clean energy, clean consciousness, where we don't hurt other people, when we are not sadistic towards other people, where we don't gain or steal from other people. And I'm not saying that you did that. I'm not saying that is what is in your ancestral lineage. But if it is a part of your legacy and it falls upon you to clear it, I sincerely recommend that you do not resist it, because it will only get worse and worse for the next 18 years. And you might go out there and speak to astrologers and seek remedies and do all those things. But let me just tell you, Ketu in the 8th acts like a surgeon. It's brutal force. It cuts out. The more you try to push against it, the more you will crumble. It is an immovable force and you can't fight it. It doesn't have a head, it doesn't think, it will come and wipe out. It's like clearing of civilizations altogether, that kind of energy. So please don't be afraid. I know it sounds scary, but what I'm here to tell you is be prepared. So by preparation, I mean that if you have joint finances, shared resources, or matters relating to deceased family members' estates, or money specifically that is not clean, unclean money, taxes not paid for decades, or money that was stolen by ancestral energy, or many other variations of this same story, right? So think of whatever applies specifically to you. Please don't resist. This is the biggest remedy that I can give you, because resistance here will only hurt you. And I don't want to see you hurt. I want to see you thriving for the next 18 years. Lots of things can hurt you. Health might crumble. Your relationships with your family members may fall apart dramatically. There might be a lot of defamation and then now and the next 18 years. So please be careful. Again, the remedy here is non-resistance. If you are meant to pay the government, go ahead and make that payment so that it's out of the system and your things that matter remain. This is not about poverty. This is about clearing unclean energy within family lineages. And I use the word unclean carefully here because 8th house is meant to be very dirty energy. It's a lot of negativity in the 8th house associated with the sign of Scorpio and specifically with the 8th house. So let it go. Okay. Health-wise, this transit asks for some amount of vigilance because Ketu can bring unexpected physical symptoms as well, particularly related to the nervous system or anything that's chronic. 8th house is repeating patterns, death and rebirth cycles. So these are hard to diagnose conditions. So go and get your checkups. And if you have been drawn to energy healing recently, past life regression therapy or esoteric practices, this is your season to go deep. So highly recommend going towards spirituality, especially to clear that karma fast. I know that Magha energy is not easy because, like I said at the start of the video, and you may want to go and watch the explanation at the start of the video, that you get chosen to clear ancestral energy, which means none of it is your fault, but it's still your responsibility, which is a really hard thing to come to terms with because it's not your party, but you're paying for it anyway. And if the party is not fun, you have to sit through it. So yeah, again, non-resistance is the key, and the next 18 years will be much, much smoother provided you follow this advice. The leadership angle here is the most powerful leaders are those who are not afraid of their own depths. So there is a lot of authenticity buried underneath all of this ancestral karma. So I would look within to get answers because the ancestors will be speaking through you, through that 8th house energy. Because again, Ketu loves being in the 8th house. It is its natural domain. It is spirituality at its finest. So yeah, I want to pull you towards Ketu's blessings and not its punishing elements. So all the best for that one, Capricorn. That is what I have for you. Moving on to Aquarius ascendant and moon sign. So Aquarius, this is happening in your 7th house. This is the house of marriage, long-term partnerships, business relationships, contracts, and other people. This house also belongs to open competition, which means open enemies that are visible to other people. This is also the house of business. That is why we talk about open competition. So you can see your competitors. This is also a house that mirrors you. You see yourself sometimes through your partner, and your partner sees them through you. So this is a very important house. Ketu in the 7th is one of the most discussed placements in Vedic astrology when it comes to relationships. And the reason is quite simple, because Ketu dissolves ego-based bonding. So he does not want to destroy love. Let me be clear on that. It is, in fact, if you align with the right person, it brings you the kind of love that you can't even imagine just how good it can get. because this is Ketu level love. It goes all the back to multiple past lives you've spent together. So you have to be careful in your choice of partners, because if chosen, this is a make or break situation. And by chosen, I also mean if chosen wrong as well, it can also be a make or break. So the question here you want to ask is, how did your lineage relate to partnerships? Were the patterns codependent, of losing identity within relationships, or of choosing partners out of duty rather than resonance, rather than love? So Ketu in Magha is bringing all of that forward. And again, I want to highlight, this is not to punish anyone. This is to make you so strong in your choice of partnership that you become fully complete. So existing relationships enter a period of karmic review. Relationships built on authentic soul resonance will deepen and transform beautifully, and relationships held together by obligation, fear, or karmic debt may reach a natural completion point, but it doesn't have to be that dramatic. It's also possible that your partner may find a job in another city and move away for 9 months or 1 year. That is best case scenario. Or it can create a bit of separation, but like I said, it doesn't have to be dramatic separation. It just means that you spend time a lot more with yourselves, finding your own inner resonance before you can unite again. Business partnerships also come under review with this energy, and also legal contracts, because then the 7th house naturally belongs to Libran energy, and Libran energy talks about legality, legal contracts. So review all agreements and contracts with discernment before you agree to sign them. And doesn't just apply to marriage, everything. Okay. So for those seeking long-term partnership, this period is attracting karmic encounters rather than conventional romantic storylines. Some of the most significant soul connections in your life may enter during this 9-month window, especially if you have planets in Magha. Ketu is going to go over those planets and activate them. Those themes might become really big in your life, so something to watch for in a good way, because not every Ketu transit is bad. It doesn't always detach you. It also brings in past life encounters which stay. This is an 18-year sort of legacy building transit, right? I'm not saying that you find your long-term partner and only stay with them for 18 years. I'm saying that what you established during this time will have a theme that follows for the next 18 years. From a leadership point of view, Aquarius, your leadership is relational leadership. You lead through deep, authentic partnerships, and Ketu clears the karmic debris, really, from your relational field. Your capacity to form truly sovereign partnerships becomes extraordinary in this time and activated. Like I said, what you establish now in this 9-month period with your partner lasts 18 years worth of legacy building capacity. So if you start a business with a partner you really trust, 18 years of fruits will be delivered. Same thing goes for marriage. So in these 9 months, if you want to establish something solid with your wife or husband, fantastic time to set those parameters. Literally sit down and write them down. Be like, this is what I want to be in this marriage. And then what just happened? Track it like you're tracking your health goals, your calories in your body. So it's worth it. I absolutely recommend it because it'll be worth it. It's 18 years. Sovereign partnerships is what's the way of the future, not just for you, Aquarius, but for the world, in fact, because we are entering into the age of Aquarius, where sovereignty is rewarded. So this is going to be a fantastic transit for you if you let it. Don't take the temporary separation too personally. If that relationship was obviously not working, you will already know about that. And you will already know that a divorce or a permanent sort of separation is coming. But that is making way for something even better in the future. I know that these things, they're easy to say out loud in a YouTube video, but they're not easy to go through. But if you can let them go with grace, what you will be rewarded with would be even better. I highly recommend, in terms of a remedy, is chant the Mahamrityunjay mantra for relational healing. And additionally, spend intentional time with your spouse or your primary partner in nature. So the more you do that, it activates Ketu's positive blessings rather than its punishing elements, and anchors you through presence and not performance. So all the best with that, Aquarius, and I sincerely hope that you set the example for what you do in the next 9 months for every sign, because you will have to. We're entering into the age of Aquarius, so everyone is looking to you to set that example. So I sincerely hope that you make those wonderful Ketu-based choices and not the Leo-based choices, because they will bring you lasting results. Okay? Perfect. And finally, we move on to Pisces. So we've got Pisces, Ascendant, and Moon sign. Love Pisces. So here we complete our journey through the 12 Ascendants and Moon signs. Ketu in Magha moves in your 6th house. This is the house of health, daily service, enemies as well, depth, obstacles, and the sacred act of purification. So in Vedic astrology, the 6th house is the Upacha house, which means a house of growth through challenge, and Ketu in the 6th is a powerful placement for overcoming obstacles that have karmic origins. The ancestral karma being activated here is around service. Your lineage may carry deep patterns of service, of giving everything and receiving very little. We know that with Pisces already, that Pisces has a pattern of doing this. So the suffering here is suffering in silence. And if you have been unable to speak up about your suffering, Ketu here will come here and ask you to rethink that. Because Pisces, rising and moon, you are going through Saraswati, and this is the peak of Saraswati, which means Saturn gets even more aggressive further it goes into its orbit. So the first few months might not have been that challenging, but now the challenges will keep on ramping up. But this is not forever. So if you've been suffering in silence, just note that Ketu is going to come here and ask you to resolve that. It'll also ask you to resolve any chronic disease patterns that you've never spoken about, or of any enemies or legal troubles that you might be facing or that were passed down through generations, through your legacy. Ketu in Magha in the 6th house is clearing all of those patterns out from the root. This is actually good news, Pisces, because Ketu acts like a surgeon in this house. Going to come in, cut all of that enemies, chronic disease, suffering, problems, all of that out fast. Great news. So health is the primary area of focus here. Ketu in the 6th can bring both of these surfacing upward. So health issues will absolutely come up for resolution, and I sincerely recommend you start a health regime that you do regularly, especially if it's spiritual in nature. For example, if it's yoga, or if you do Ayurvedic practices like Panchakarma, or if you do Vipassana on a regular scale, or breath work. So this improves your body very slowly. Within a few months after, you will start to see patterns, outcome that you can't deny. And that is how spiritual technologies generally work anyway. They start very slow, you feel like nothing's happening, and you give up really quickly, which is really sad, because if you stick around, in the next few months, the results are profound. It's like a compound effect. Listen to your body, tend to your nervous system. Ketu's presence here also gives you the gift of victory over hidden enemies and obstacles. As I said, it acts like a surgeon. If you've been constantly being impacted by people who are troubling you for absolutely no reason, they just suddenly disappear out of your orbit, which is great news. And something you need right now. Would you not agree, Pisces? So Legal matters or disputes that have been dragged on will find an immediate sort of resolution. Again, magical, like just disappearing. Debts or financial or karmic things passed down from legacy become clearer and become paths to freedom, actually. Because now you know that your ancestors did this, so I don't have to follow it and I will never follow it. From a leadership point of view, you lead through compassion, compassionate service. Don't lose that during Saraswati because this is your greatest superpower. If you lose it and you go into the next 18 years without this element, it'll only become harder for you. We don't want that. Your greatest superpower is compassion, and I know Saraswati is very difficult, and it's probably creating a situation where you want some revenge because everything is trying to hurt you. So if you can, in this period, stick to your inner core, your inner nature, Ketu will reward you for the next 18 years. It's to stand your ground with this one. The transit is actually upgrading your service blueprint from martyrdom to mastery. By the end of this, you will become a master and create legacies. So stand your ground. The remedy here is feed the hungry. Do it regularly, donate to health-related causes, and the act of serving is very important for you. Physical acts of care, self-care as well, not just volunteering outside of you, but also self-care. The more you give back to yourself, it's getting registered not just with Ketu, but also Saturn. That's over your head. Most powerful karma clearing placement, in fact. I really hope that this was useful for you. I sincerely invite you to check out my 2026 transit ebook that is linked in the description box below, because it will not only give you an understanding of what's going to happen for the rest of the year, but it will also teach you Vedic astrology. And it will teach you Vedic astrology in real time, which means you'll see the transits manifest in your life in real time. And that is one of the best ways to learn, because you will emotionally connect to what's going on. So yeah, it's great value. And I think you can learn this over a weekend. So get your pen and paper books out and the ebook, and great way to study astrology and do this. So every other transit video will become a lot more engaging. I sincerely hope that this was useful, because this was a lot of fun for me to do. I'm a Magha connected soul, so I understand the value of this transit. Let's see what that brings for you and me both. And just subscribe if you haven't already, because I'll be back with a lot more. So see you next time, and bye for now.